Hey everyone, welcome back to Rooster's weekly video update. The UK remains in lockdown until March 8th, after 100,000 Britons have passed away after testing positive for COVID-19. This means that UK residents can only travel internationally or within the UK where they first have a legally permitted reason to leave home. UK residents cannot leave their home or the place where they're living for holidays or overnight stays unless they have a reasonable excuse for doing so, and this means that holidays in the UK and abroad are no longer allowed. In order to enter the UK, a negative COVID-19 test must be completed 72 hours before travel and presented to staff on planes, trains, or ferries in order to board. People entering the UK from high-risk countries will have to quarantine in a hotel at their own expense for 10 days. The government has announced these hotel quarantine plans for Britons returning from 30 high-risk or red list countries to stop new coronavirus variants entering the UK. Prime Minister Boris Johnson previously stated the measures would apply to 22 nations, but Home Secretary Priti Patel has since revealed the red list, which is comprised of the same 30 countries that currently have a UK travel ban. The Prime Minister has said that lockdown restrictions will not begin to lift and schools in England will not be able to reopen to all pupils after the February half term, but that they might be able to do so from the 8th of March. The government will publish a plan to lead the country out of its current COVID lockdown on the 22nd of February, the Prime Minister has confirmed. Boris Johnson said progress towards normality would depend on the government and the NHS meeting their February 15 targets to vaccinate everyone in the 4 groups most vulnerable to coronavirus. The leaking of information about hotel quarantines without a timescale or a roadmap out of the new restrictions will be destabilizing consumer confidence, according to Travel Supermarket. The situation is leading to sensationalism and speculation around whether people can take summer holidays, which are still 5 months away. The Home Secretary has outlined new measures to restrict international travel, a declaration of why you're traveling, a stricter list of essential travel exemptions, and greater police checks and fines are among enhanced measures announced by the government to curb international travel from the UK. Travel and aviation leaders are demanding an urgent response from the government to requests for financial aid and a pathway to relaxed border restrictions, accusing ministers of laying blow after blow on the industry. The heads of the Airport Operators Association, Airlines UK, travel and aviation leaders are demanding an urgent response from the government to requests for financial aid and a pathway to relax border restrictions, accusing ministers of laying blow after blow on the industry. The heads of the Airport Operators Association, Airlines UK, Business Travel Association, and other industry bodies have hit out at the government after they confirmed the imposition of compulsory hotel quarantine on arrivals from 30 destinations. The government's Global Travel Task Force is now no longer active after having attracted criticism from the sector when it emerged it would not include any representatives from the travel industry. TTG learned today that the task force is no longer active, having made recommendations to government that are currently being implemented. This included recommendations on tester release and pre-departure testing. A range of UK short breaks have been introduced by youth brand Kentucky following the launch of its Detour brand of mini adventures. The expanded range of domestic breaks follows a survey of its UK clients, which showed that 71% of respondents are planning to travel around the UK this year. Of these, 38% named Scotland as their destination of choice, and almost 15% wanted to experience English national parks. Hayes Travel is to close 89 shops as it consolidates its retail real estate amid the continued pressures of COVID-19. The UK's largest travel agency said it is offering options for alternative work to 388 staff who are affected. The company said it had deferred reviewing the performance of the former Thomas Cook shops it acquired in October 2019 to see if business returned in 2021. And the Biden administration has renewed the country's COVID-19 travel bans on non-US visitors, including the UK and Ireland. Former President Donald Trump had ordered the bans to end on January 26, but the White House press secretary confirmed the decision to continue the restrictions on foreign travellers on the 25th of January. After the news that British residents arriving in England from COVID hotspots will have to quarantine in hotels, many would-be holidaymakers are thinking of opting for UK destinations instead this summer. Sarah and Steve Jarvis, who run the Independent Cottages website listing more than 1,800 properties, say inquiries during the current lockdown in England are up 300% on the first lockdown last year. Boeing's 737 MAX has been cleared to return to service in the UK and Europe 22 months after the aircraft was grounded following 2 fatal crashes. Over in social, a couple of weeks ago, we touched on the number of people in the US, but it's pretty similar in other Western countries who get their news from Facebook. So 72% of adults do get their news from Facebook. So to embrace that trend in the United Kingdom, Social Network has launched a dedicated news tab in the UK. It will source original reporting from leading outlets and provides these publishers new advertising and revenue streams. You can find out some more in the links in the article. And if you're curious to know how Facebook knows what you want to see as you scroll through the newsfeed, you can also find, again in the article, another link that clicks through to a math-light rundown from Facebook's engineering team. It's a pretty interesting perspective on how they sort through 1,000 posts per user per day for 2 billion users. And Twitter's already pretty prominent for writers and clear thinkers who tend to use it a lot to link to platforms like Substack or Medium. They're now embracing that independent publishing angle by acquiring a newsletter platform, Review. Subscribe for free on their website. If you're considering a paid newsletter, Review's lowered their cut of your payments to only 5% for the time being. And Twitter and NBC Universal are deepening their partnership. NBC, the home of comedy icons like The Office, 30 Rock, and Community, as well as sort of news programs like CNBC, are committing to new digital content around a lot of their live programming slate, and Twitter promises better ad support to NBC's sales team. As Instagram continues to embrace business and creators' accounts' capacity to make money from the app, they are rolling out a professional dashboard to help you track your performance, grow your business, and stay up to date with new tricks, tips, and inspiration. It's already kind of existing services that is pulling it all into one place for ease of access. And if you fancy dark mode, Snapchat is testing the new option for low light environments. After premiering their augmented reality try-on tool for lipstick last year, Pinterest is rolling out the next stage of this e-commerce integration with eyeshadow. At the moment, there are more than 4,000 shoppable shades that you can try on using the AR tools on your phone through Pinterest. And Pinterest does claim that the purchase intent for try-on pins is about 5 times higher than for standard pins. And after Twitter debuted reply controls to help control the kinds of conversations that users were subjected to on their own posts, LinkedIn is following suit. It's pretty straightforward. Facebook's external independent oversight board will make the final ruling on whether to permanently ban former President Donald Trump from the platform. Twitter's already done it, but Facebook's temporary suspension is nearly over. However, they are upholding that ban indefinitely until the board decides on a course of action. Facebook's official stance is that people don't think private companies like Facebook should decide whether or not to ban former presidents from access to sort of free distribution through social. So they're leaving it up to an external independent body. We've touched on the oversight board before, but you can, again, in the article, find a link to the oversight board's website, but we'll keep you up to date on any changes there. And TikTok's released a new video, ironically on Facebook, featuring a sort of famous media buyer, Savannah Sanchez, on how to set up a TikTok ad campaign using the TikTok Ads Manager platform. And while Australia and Google remain at loggerheads over the Australian government's demands for Google to pay Australian publishers for news, Google has actually outlined a new deal to pay French publishers for their news. It's a really interesting story. Google sort of trying to avoid international precedent at the moment. They are working with German and Brazilian publishers as well, kind of paying them fees to display their news and kind of give them opportunities to continue to generate revenue that they wouldn't otherwise through like AMP article previews and things like that. And the kind of the big headline piece in sort of social this week is that a single subreddit devoted to basically gambling on the stock market in the US is just about to sink a $13 billion hedge fund. So the subreddit wallstreetbets has been playing a long game with the stock of GameStop, so brick and mortar games retailer, after they posted losses 2 years in a row. This is basically the subreddit has called the hedge fund's bluff on 140% of GameStop shares, and they've elevated the stock price from like $30 to nearly $400. They're now trying to do the same thing with AMC, the struggling theater chain, and sort of neither of these situations are over. So stay tuned for how exactly this all plays out. That's all from us this week. Don't forget to read the rest of the article at the link, as always, and stay tuned for next week.